A kingdom work ethic. Number 65, Mark 3 verses 20 to 21, Luke 8 verses 1 to 3. Welcome back. Today, we'll be combining the Gospels of Mark and Luke to observe the work ethic of Jesus and his church. The Gospel, Mark 3 verses 20 to 21, Luke 8 verses 1 to 3. Soon afterward, Jesus traveled from one town and village to another, preaching and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom of God. The 12 were with him, as well as some women who had been healed of evil spirits and infirmities, Mary called Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had gone out, Joanna the wife of Herod's household manager Chuza, Susanna, and many others. These women were ministering to them out of their own means. Then Jesus went home, and once again a crowd gathered, so that he and his disciples could not even eat. When his family heard about this, they went out to take custody of him, saying, "He is out of his mind." My thoughts. When you look at the workforce Jesus had assembled, you can't do anything but admire the commitment, sacrifice, and work ethic of this band of brothers and sisters. Jesus had given them the invitation to follow him, and follow they did. They hit the road with Jesus as he preached the gospel of the kingdom, healed the sick, and cast out demons. They were his support crew, students, and fellow laborers in the harvest. This was no casual endeavor. They had left the comforts of family and home, hiking dusty roads, traversing stormy waters, and always being inundated with people. And when they returned home, there was no rest for the weary. They didn't even have time to eat. The pace was so frenetic, his family had thought Jesus was crazy. Can you imagine keeping pace with Jesus? Now we need to remind ourselves, it was for a season and they did get away for respites. More on that later. But you have to acknowledge with awe the team, or dare I say church, Jesus put together. I am amazed and challenged. When we look at the commitment and work ethic of these people, would you say you have a church like this? My story. One of the greatest gifts my father ever gave me was a model for a strong work ethic. Once I was helping him change out a transmission on a dump truck. We spent hours on our backs, laying on a gravel driveway, pulling this big bad boy out. Basically, all I was doing was handing him tools. He single-handedly yanked the thing out and placed it on the ground. Now you might be getting the idea that I was just a young boy watching his father act like Superman, but I was 45 and he was 65. Yeah, I didn't quite pull my weight that day. But my dad was like that his whole life. A strong and hard worker. Watching my dad and Jesus work that hard has really been an example for me throughout my life. I worked hard in the military and ministry. Quitting, although tempting at times, was never an option. Even this week was a banner week for Deb and I as we hosted several people in our home, shared the gospel, provided pastoral care, developed leaders, made disciples, and sent a missionary to Egypt. Not every week is like that, but they are full. And I probably ought to remind you we are retired. Rolling on the floor laughing. Warning, if you are going to have a good work ethic, you also need a good rest ethic. As I said, more on that later. Our action plan. How do we help disciples develop a good strong work ethic? Here's some ideas. Do a Bible study with them on the work ethic of Jesus. Schedule times of intense ministry and see who shows up. Balance hard work with hard rest, don't be a slave driver. If we're going to be like Jesus, we need to learn how to train people to work just as hard for eternal things as they do for earthly things. We need to model the same commitment, loyalty, and sacrifice Jesus did for the kingdom.